we're going to welcome Vera to the stage first, and then we have two great entrepreneurs that I've had the opportunity to work with over the last, I think, 5 or 6 years in the connected play space. Paul Berberian, the CEO of Sphero. I had the opportunity to work with Paul when I was at a show called Digital Kids, and we talked about the convergence of play with technology, and now he's actually bringing the conversation of the convergence of play and education together. And Vikas Gupta, the CEO of Wonder Workshop, who also actually met Vikas before he was at Google or Amazon. I think he had his own startup in the monetization world, and now he was inspired by his daughter and teaching her to code, and now he teaches children around the world to code through play. So we're going to start with Vera and go next to Paul and Vikas. Vera?
Good morning. So my name is Vera Blau-McCandliss. I'm the Vice President of Education and Research at Panda, and we make an early literacy platform. And what I want to talk to you about today is educational technology in early literacy. I want to start the presentation by highlighting that really becoming a fluent reader and becoming literate is one of the most important early literacy milestones for every child. Particularly important is the ability to become a fluent reader by 3rd grade. And the reason for that is that right around that time, we transition from learning to read to actually reading to learn. So in a lot of ways, being literate, being fluent at reading becomes the cornerstone of making progress in a lot of other subject areas, such as STEM and others. So given that, it might surprise you to know that actually 66% of 4th graders in the United States do not read proficiently. So the question here is really, what is going on? Why are there so many kids falling behind? Well, the answer to this problem, if you want to give a good answer, is of course very complex. What we do know is that the problem starts way earlier than 3rd or 4th grade. In fact, it starts as early as kindergarten or even pre-kindergarten. And we know that those kids who have good and strong foundational reading skills as early as kindergarten, to the end of kindergarten, and by that I mean they know their letters, they know that which sound goes with which letter, they can discriminate the sounds of their language. Those are the kids that are going to continue making progress, and they're going to actually hit these 3rd grade reading benchmarks. On the other hand, those kids without foundational skills are not going to make the same amount of progress. And so the gap between the good and the poor readers is only going to widen over time. So given that, it is very important that we actually start intervening early. And the question that I really want to address, or try to address in this talk, is how do we best design educational technology that actually benefits these young learners so that we can prevent some of this downward spiral. Now, I want to make 2 points to sort of give you some ideas about how we can tackle this question. Of course, it's, again, very complex. But one of these ideas is that I think it's important for us always, as educational technology providers, to consider really understanding, or to really understand the why behind the problem. So in our case, why are kids actually failing at such an early stage? What are the reasons behind it? We can look to practitioners and see what they have done for many years, see what they observe in the classroom, etc. We can also turn and look at the science of learning to read. And I just want to give one quick example here, and that is that of the brain science of early literacy, which has really shown us that in order to become fluent and a good reader, we need to rewire a whole a multitude of brain areas to create a network that fully supports fluent reading. So as a very simple example, in order to bring together letters and sounds, we actually need to specialize and fine-tune an area in the left part of the brain to do that. And that transition happens between pre-kindergarten and when kids actually become fluent readers. These things are very, very important. These are key learning milestones. Without these milestones, kids are not going to achieve their goal. And this is important for us to realize, because when we know what the stumble blocks are, we can now design technology that is more useful, more beneficial to these young learners. The second point I want to make is about understanding the how. So a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old child has different cognitive and developmental abilities than a 10 or 12-year-old. So where, again, can we look to really understand how we best teach? We can look to practitioners who for many years have presented materials through different media with different formats to help kids learn. We can also look at the science of learning again. And here we see evidence mounting that, again, bringing in multiple modalities, multiple senses, including the sense of touch, can really help accelerate the learning of these foundational skills. So how do we take these insights, and how have we taken these insights and developed our product around it? So just to back up a second, our product is an early literacy platform. We have two components to it. One is a digital component. We make early literacy games for kids that are fun and engaging. At the same time, we have a hardware component. And so we have these chunky physical letters that kids can put in the playset, and they can use them to spell words. And as they do so, the letters are being sounded out by the iPad, and the words are being sounded out, and they can kind of transition back and forth between the on-screen and the off-screen activities. So when we develop our gaming approach, what we always do is start with a very solid curriculum educational foundation. So we've developed an early literacy scope and sequence that spans 7 skill domains. And within of these domains, we break it down into smaller skills, and then we really find fun ways to gamify those learning experiences. The other thing that is important is we try to create learning pathways that are not a one-size-fits-all approach, but instead we're trying to measure what is a kid really good at, what are they weak at. Usually across these 7 domains, it's not all, there's not one pathway that will meet your needs, but you will have strength that in particular areas that we can build on, and you will have weaknesses that likely we need to do more interventions around. So this is how we create individual learning pathways. We then combine that with the hands-on play component that I just talked about in order to provide that additional help, that glue that helps you integrate sort of the letters and the sounds, the words and their pronunciation, etc. And then we, of course, also look at engaging play mechanics. We have a great game development team that utilizes a lot of these mechanics that we know children respond to, such as giving them control, having them discover what is happening in the learning, or even expressing and investing into the learning process itself. So that's us in a nutshell, and I hope you're interested in coming checking us out. We are at booth 43761 in this building. You can also check us out at squarepanda.com. And I'm going to be around to answer questions after the session. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. I'm Paul Berberian. I'm the CEO of Sphero. This is our mission. We're about inspiring the creators of tomorrow. And we do that by teaching them the language of tomorrow, which is coding, STEM, STEAM-based education. The company was founded in 2010, and we've had some great success over the years. 2015, we had the #1 toy in the world with the Star Wars product. 2016, the #1 toy in the US. And in 2018 and 2019, we're seeing another great success, which is bringing play into the classroom to teach kids how to code, how to use robots, and to really use that as the next generation platform for learning. So what's fueling this innovation and this desire for schools to take on technology? Well, it's this. 90% of parents want their kids to learn how to code. I mean, it's universal, not only just in the US, but across all countries. But only 40% of schools have any kind of computer science or computational thinking program. And even the ones that do, it's very early stage. It's very elementary. And so the opportunity is to fuel this desire, because these are going to be the skills that kids will need for the jobs of the future. So I have a short video that shows you how Sphero is trying to take its products and technology into the classroom. And so you're going to hear a little bit from some teachers and kids around the world on how they use Sphero for STEM and STEAM-based education.
They had these little white balls and they were changing colors and they were just all fascinated with them. And I'm like, that looks like the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. All right, so within an hour, I was completely and totally hooked.
When I started teaching, we didn't have anything like this, so this is all quite new for me.
STEM and STEAM and utilizing robots and technology, that's our way in with our kids.
For us, technology has been an enhancing tool more than anything.
To demystify coding, I'm sure everybody has followed instructions. Even if a family goes on a road trip on holiday, they have to plan out a journey, and that in effect is developing a program that they have to follow throughout the holidays.
I see it as not a toy, but I see it as something you really put your knowledge in it.
Start with something small and then ask students, okay, what can you do next? What can we add on to that? Have their ideas.
Allows you to do in a more creative way and build on life skills as well as the academic skills that they need.
Because you are open their mind, you are give them the challenge, and it was amazing to see this.
So we've had some great success. We've sold over 4 million robots to date. We have over 1.5 million kids coding. That's representing close to 10 million programs that have been written and shared on our platform. We're in about 20,000 schools worldwide. And every day we're adding over 1,000 new devices, which is equal to about 3,000 to 5,000 kids because our robots are shared within the classroom. But we realize it's not one size fits all. You can't have a computational thinking course in second grade, but not have anything in third or fourth or fifth grade. You have to have a continuum. So we're really focusing our product lines in the future around offering a continuum of products so that kids can kind of advance from one skill set to the next. So a little hint, something is coming soon. I'm not going to share it with you, but watch this space. But what I am going to share with you is a thing that we just launched at CES, which is the product on the far left of the screen, which is called Spectrums. It's this wonderful, cool way for kids to use music to get access to coding and learning how to program. And they do it by tapping colors to make music. And you say, well, why are you doing something with music versus technology? Well, it turns out not every kid is tech forward, right? Some kids are more artistic in nature, and you have to meet the kid where their interests lie. So we realized not a lot of people were putting investment into the arts. So when you talk STEAM-based education, we felt we could offer quite a bit by doing something artistic. So here's a little video snapshot of how you can make music with colors. And if you want to try it out, our booth is downstairs and you can be a rock star yourself. So here you go. All right, so it's making music fun, getting kids excited, and then it leads into a wonderful educational experience as well. So for us, it's about making learning fun, right? Our products have to be fun, but they have to have a deep, rich educational experience as well, and that's our mission. Because we firmly believe that play is a powerful teacher, and all the companies up here today, I'm sure, believe in this as well. Happy to take any questions when the other presenters are done, but thank you so much, and come down and be a rock star.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vikas Gupta, one of the founders and the CEO of Wonder Workshop. As Donna was saying, you probably know about Dash and Dot, and I want to tell you a bit about how we started, what our journey is, and things that we've seen as successes and what's led to that, and a little bit of where we're going. And so our journey started back in 2012. This is, if people remember, when Code.org launched, that was 2013. So in 2012, when I went out to investors and said, I want to start a company to build these robots that children can learn to code with, people looked at me and said, coding is not a thing. Like, there's no one who's going to want their kids to code. It's a very niche thing, and only you guys in the Silicon Valley want to do this. So it's great to see 6 years from then where we have had 3 sessions and people have talked about how coding is universal, and we've seen that firsthand. And for us to have built products like Dash and Dot and Q, which are used by millions of children around the world, and having seen people like Melinda Gates talk about how Dash is one of the most fun way for children to learn coding, it's been a very fulfilling journey for us, and continues to be. And the reason we started the company, and is the reason many of you, probably how you think about the tools you want to give your children. We give our children these iPads and these phones and smart devices, and as a parent, we ask ourselves, are these devices going to make our kids smarter? Are they going to help them be the future creators? Or will they make them dumber? Will they become consumers of tech and not just creators, not creators? And that's a question that puzzled me, that I challenged myself with when my first child was born, my daughter. And that's what eventually led me to founding Wonder Workshop. And as much as we want it to be a learning tool, if you want to engage children, it has to be fun. The play has to be the front and center for the experiences for children. And that's how we've always approached everything we did, is it has to deliver that level of engagement that can compete with anything else that a child picks up. And just today, I met someone in the audience who mentioned that they have been using Dash for several years, and it's still their go-to product when children are bored. When you hear those things, then you feel like a lot of reward in just from the work you've done. And to make it successful as a product, as a platform, we have to build more than just the core robot itself. Our innovation is actually not as much on the robot, which I think has its own level of kind of innovation, but it's much more on the software, the content, and the way we've brought it to students and teachers around the world. Our robots are now used in more than 25% of elementary schools in the US. Just about every state, every town, every school district is using or experimenting with products like ours. And it's a full solution that meets a teacher's needs in the classroom. They have a very short time window. In 45 minutes, they want to set up, so do the lesson, and pack out. And that's where Dash, Dot, and Q really, really succeed. We host a robotics competition where we let children compete with just a robot in the confines of their own space, their own homes or their schools. And over the last 4 years, it's the 4th year running this competition, this year it has scaled to 33,000 children participating from 71 different countries. And we started out 4 years ago where we had about 4,000 students, almost all from the US. It's reached from places like Afghanistan, from countries in Africa, South America, just about everywhere. And that's something that is not by accident that it scaled to those parts, because one of the fundamental things we believed in was to make the product spread quickly and for children to be able to share and collaborate remotely, we needed to give everyone a platform that is consistent in the hands of every child. So that a child programming these robots from Afghanistan, if they shared the program to a child who's programming it in Hawaii, they'll actually be able to work just as well, and they didn't have to go figure out how to build the robot in order for the program to work. And that's what has led to a lot of our success. And the other thing that we were very mindful of, I have a daughter, and I didn't want to build a product that only succeeded for boys. So I'll tell you a story about these girls. They're from Heartland, Michigan. This girl wants to compete in a Lego robotics competition. Her dad's had a robotics club, so she wanted to use kind of that space. And her older brother did not let her join the team. Her older brother wanted only his friends. So this girl turns to Dash and Dot. She brings a bunch of her friends together, and they go on to be the worldwide champions for the robotics team. But the story goes from there, so the prize for the winner is a $5,000 STEM grant, which we typically give to schools. So we said, well, we can't give you $5,000 worth of robots, and what can we do? So we sponsored her and her team to go compete in the nationals in the Lego robotics, and her brother didn't get to go. And how do we do this? I mean, what makes us successful? I think at the end of the day, it's how we approach products, what we do, whether it's hardware, it's software, it's content. And we often talk about how to build ethical products, build products that children can succeed with, and not let anything come in the way of that engagement, especially when it comes to privacy of children. How we treat that is an example of how we've been very mindful of the product experience for children. As an example, I'm hoping the video will work, we'll see. As an example, we wanted to give the children the ability to share programs with each other. Now, if any of you wants to share content and send it to someone, if you think through that experience, you need to figure out who that person is, how you're going to send the content to someone. You probably need to log into an account, have a password, share it with an email. Imagine the steps you're going to go through. And we challenge ourselves that shouldn't be the case. It should be as low-tech as possible for a child to share their programs with another child. So what we did was, within the application itself, children can go and create a 4-digit key for their program. And once they create this key, they can share this program, this key, with anyone through any medium they want. They can write it on a piece of paper and send it to someone else. The other child can go into the app and enter this key, and that the other child's program will get downloaded on their device without a problem. And they can run it on the robot they already have. And that allows the level of collaboration with such ease that allows children to then freely collaborate and share, teachers to feel comfortable that they can give this product to the children and they won't get confused, and there's no issue about data being collected, data being shared, and what children will run into. And it requires work, it requires innovation, it requires thought, but the foremost of it, it requires intention. And that's how we approach every product. Our intention is to build products that children succeed with and succeed well. Here's another example of the kind of things we try to do. These are robots for children. Now imagine you have a 6-year-old child, 7-year-old child who's programming a robot. And you want to give the experience where a child can achieve what they hadn't thought was possible before. When we first designed Dash, and we wanted to create what is an amazing experience we can give a child with Dash, we thought, what if Dash could come out and you give it a xylophone and robot will play a xylophone? Wouldn't that be amazing? And we built it, and it was done. We created a tool where the robot could draw, and I'm going to show you how capable this robot is that you're giving in the hands of a 7-year-old that costs only about $150. And this was done by a programming interface where a child can program the robot to draw and produce this art. It's super accurate for a robot to be able to draw itself and do it by a child programming it. And that's a kind of capability we continue to bring as innovation that we put in the hands of children. One of the reasons for our success is high engagement. And things that we wanted to strive for was that a child should use the robots and engage with them for a very long time. We've been shipping robots since 2014. And we just found out in this November that of all the robots that we've shipped over 5 years, 40% of them were actively used in the month of November. Now think of the toys that you've given your children. How many of your toys, those toys, were used 4 years after you bought them and gave it to your child? How many of those robots you might have experienced and looked at were used 4 years after your child opened them? But that's what we see. Every day we hear stories about how a parent bought the robots for the kids when they were 4-year-old, and now they're 8-year-old kids, and they're still getting the same amount of fun and excitement because the experience has grown with them, with the robots. And that's what makes us extremely proud about what these experience means to children. So going further, we continue to look for ways to innovate and bring that innovation in the hands of children, in classrooms, at homes, elevate that experience to new stuff. Where can we go beyond the robot? What can the robot do? And challenge ourselves on how we can think where we can take this experience and in the end, help these children be the leaders, the creators, the innovators of the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikas. Thank you. We have time for one question. Any questions?
Yep.
Renee.
What are you most excited about going forward?
What I'm most excited about going forward. I think what I'm most excited about, what I continue to be excited about even all these years is the kind of experiences that children, teachers, parents share back with us every day. I mean, I run out of time just browsing Twitter and resharing and replying back to customers and on the experiences they've shared with us. And that, I think, continues to excite me about the dimensions that we feel are still unexplored on the platform we built, and really learning from the community of teachers, of parents, of kids, and how they're building stuff with our robots.